I think this is a good one. And if so many other states out there will just begin to follow the steps of Ondo State, I think we might finally have an end to this high level of impunity by the Fulani herders. Ondo State just sent one cattle header to 10 years imprisonment with serious hard labor for carrying his cattle to graze on a cassava plantation that actually cost around 50 million naira. I think this is a good news. It is indeed a good news because so many states in the south already have a law that has banned the open grazing by the Fulani herders. Right there in the southeast, even in beyond Ondo, in Ogun State, in Lagos State, in Oyo State, so many of these states have a law banning against open grazing. But we have seen how the Fulani herders will come out and tell you that, well, for as long as the federal government does not support it, well, there's nothing, absolutely nothing any governor or any state can do. However, if you want to just contrast, or you switch the sides of the parties involved, we know how the North have forcefully, implemented their Sharia laws, where they will tell a Christian lady to put on a veil. They'll tell a Christian lady, whether a Muslim, whether you're an Igbo man, a Igbo woman, or a Yoruba woman, you have to put on your veil. There are some liberal Muslims who do not even want to wear the veil. When you are seen on the street of any northern state that practices this Sharia to the latter, you will be arrested. In some cases, you'll be asked to pay a fine of maybe 200,000, or you receive some strokes of canes. These are the things that are even beyond the federal government, but they have always enforced it. We saw how they enforced schools to close down during the Ramadan. They ask so many schools that it doesn't matter if you are a Christian school or not, for as long as you are in their own states, which is solely governed by the Sharia tenant, you have to lock down that school. That failure to do so, you will face serious and very harsh consequences. So I support this 10 years or even more if the case arises, because we are now hearing that some northerners and indeed the Sultan are beginning to kick against such. They call it an egregious judgment, that it is too harsh, that why should the Fulani elder be actually sent to 10 years with hard labor into the prison, that this is a situation that the government is failing. Indeed, if a man who is rearing a chicken, or a man who who actually rears catfish or whatever, if in the south they do not go into people's farms, they do not go into people's rivers and just invade the peace of the people. Because when you look for a man who is a poultry farmer, he rears chickens, he produces egg, you don't see a poultry farmer start going to people's shop and just taking the corn meals, taking the grain meals without paying. He understands fully well that he has to create that avenue to be able to afford his poultry feeds. Likewise, for the man who is into fish farming, he will go to the market, purchase the fish meal, the fish feed from those who produce the feed, pays them peacefully, then he goes back into his catfish farm, and then he feeds the catfish. And if the feeds are expensive, definitely it will increase the price of the catfish. Is that not why we have a situation whereby we no longer have catfish pepper soup of 1,105 anymore? Now, I think the minimum you can find the catfish pepper soup is around 7,000 to 8,000 naira. However, there is no chaos on the streets of Nigeria. You don't see the people who own catfish start invading people's shops. So why should a cattle herder who believes he's above the law, when a state tell you, Oga, in my state, in Ondo State to be particular, and I won't be doing a good service if I do not pay, you know, very good appreciation to the former governor of Ondo State. May he so rest in perfect peace. We're talking about Governor Akeredolu, who, under his watch, ensured that the regional force is created, which is Amotekun. Under his watch, he ensured that the Fulani marauding herders, the open grazing law was actually created to ban the open grazing. And we can see that his successor, who happens to be Ayedatiwa, they are now catching those Fulani herders in a situation whereby they are catching them through the assistance of the Amotekun. Anybody that, even if your cattle just ate just one comb of corn that is like maybe now 800 naira, you will get 10 years in prison, period. That should be the case. They shouldn't have waited for those cows. Just imagine, he went into someone's farm and the cow consumed a cassava plantation. Everything sums up to over 50 million. Haba, such a destructive people. Haba, you encroach someone's farm uninvited. Not like, okay, when your cattle, if the cattle, after consuming those crops, and then the elder now say, okay, you know what, I will pay you for what I just did. What is the worth of your cassava? Maybe it's 50 million. Okay, you know what, I might not have 50 million, let me pay you. After all those things, you've not taken them to the market, you've not done all this. Now let me pay you 30 million for it. Then nobody will be crying. Nobody will be crying foul play. Nobody will be hungry. In fact, people will start planting corn and cassava, and when it gets maybe 60 to 70% state of maturity, they will call the Fulani head, Oga, market day, food day, corn chop. That is what will happen. But you see, these cattle herders, they want to make profit, but they do not want to spend money on their own operational costs. What is the operational cost? The operational cost basically is about feeding the cattle. They want to have everything for free. First and foremost, they are demanding for interventions from the government, which of course we can say that the government has given them, because the government has given them that national security immunity where they are told that they can wield guns. Secondly, the herders want a situation whereby anywhere that is green, their cattle will just go in there. It doesn't matter if that forest is a forbidden forest by the aborigines of that locality. It doesn't matter if that forest is a sacred forest, because in Nigeria today, some people are traditional. Some villages have a forest that they call the forest is a forbidden forest. So people are not allowed into that forest. That forest is sacred. That forest is for their rituals, for so many traditional rites that they carry out maybe on a monthly or a bi-monthly, or even maybe biannual basis. However, wetin concern man wey dey carry cattle, e won't be say if you don't see flower, don't see tree, don't see bush, oya enter make una chop am, right? So the law must even go beyond just when you invade someone's farmland and crops. The point is, you as a cattle herder, we have passed a law that is against open grazing. So you don't just come out as a man who is rearing cattle and you start telling us that, but those bushes, that there are so many ungoverned areas in Nigeria and there are no people there. So therefore, the Fulani man has the right to take his cattle into those bushes to feed on those crops and flowers. You have to understand that everybody has the right to preserve whatever he wishes to preserve. If in the north you believe you want to preserve your religious laws, by all means, I mean, when you enforce it, in some instances you get people flogged. In some instances you get even women pay fines, heavy fines, 200, 300,000, because they forget to wear their veil even when they are not Muslims. You see, so you have to respect the order the southern governors also want to implement. And my question is, why are the northern elites, why is the Sultan, why are the Islamic northern clerics, why are they kicking like, oh no, it shouldn't have gotten more than 6 months? Someone came into a farmer's investment. Your cattle heads up an investment of over 50 million naira. You are demanding that the guy shouldn't have gotten more than 6 months. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? In some instances, I would have pushed for capital punishment. Yes, I would have pushed for even maybe a lifetime imprisonment, because these are intentionally done. These are what? Intentionally done. Because I don't think you would see a corn well aligned, well nurtured, well cultivated, then your cows will just, they'll just roam into that farmland, and you, who is the elder, will come out and feign ignorance that, oh, we never knew it was someone that planted it. Hello, are you talking to a fool? Are you telling me corns will just grow up, just spring up from the floor, and then they will be well aligned in rows in a very vast land of going to almost 50 to 60, 70 acres of land? I mean, is that even possible? Yet you who call yourself the religious leaders of the Fulanis or the northern elite, they're saying that the Edo court has done, the Ondo court has done something that is too harsh. Another, I saw a comment that they said, I know that the Fulani Edo has the right of movement, that this is too egregious, that this is discriminatory, that this is racism. Oh my goodness. When they try to play on our emotional intelligence, they begin to deploy what we call emotional blackmail. But it has expired. Yesterday, all those things has expired. We have learned from our mistakes in the past. We know that the agenda here is not just grazing on farmlands. The issue is go out there, provoke the people. When you provoke the people, when you anger them, when they attack your cattle, then you come back for reprisal attack. Then you will come with guns, whereby you have people just being killed unprovoked. And these are the issues that we are against. Yeah, because when we say we do not want something, yet you insist that your sons to go into those villages to graze. They graze on people's farmland. When they graze, when those people get hungry and they start attacking, I mean, look at what happened in Plateau, in Riom, whereby a farmer just fumigated his own corn farm, having fumigated his corn farm. You now say that you need a compensation because about 18 cows died. So 18 cows went to graze on a land in Riom, Plateau State, and those cows, unfortunately, an hour later, they all died. But here is what is more provocative. A young boy, a Fulani boy who feels is untouchable, or shall I say indeed he is untouchable by Tinubu, has come out to threaten that these killings, because where the Fulanis inevitably respond, I am certain there will reprisal attack. I don't want to hear any victim narrative when it happens. That is it on your screen. You see what we are talking about, that. So you think you are behind, or you are beyond the laws of the land. These are the reasons why they do not want to approve guns for the general population. The only people that seems to have an approval to own guns are these Fulani elders, whom the former president has said, yes, the Fulani elders wield gun because the cattle that they carry around are in the millions. That sometimes a single elder might be grazing 30 to 40 million cattle, which are approximately 40 to 45 million. So therefore, a Fulani elder should have a right to carry gun. I've also seen where the governor of Bauchi State came out. He said a Fulani man is a global citizen, hence the reason why they should have a gun, because they are nomadic and they might be confronted with all manner of danger while they are grazing their cows. Should I be in any way be disturbed that the Fulanis are nomadic? Definitely not. But shouldn't I be worrisome when a Fulani elder thinks that a cow of his came to graze on my land without my permission? My farmland, my corn farm of about 10 to 20 acres of corn, you grazed your cow on it, but unfortunately for your cows, they've ate on a crop that I just fumigated, that I just applied insecticide. And here we have it there, Seriki telling me that indeed that there will be a reprisal attack, and when that happens, the victims that they attack should not come out and cry. Threat, an opening threat. People like this are these social media influencers that back up the dastard heart of these Fulani elders. On what ground should this Seriki Waspapi not to have been arrested by now? On what ground should a boy, right, named Waspapi, another one called Farik, also came out to say that there must be an instant compensation for the 18 cows that illegally invaded my corn farmland in Plateau State? These are plants that have wasted my time to nurture, spent so much resources to cultivate, but somehow when these cows notice that this thing has gone into maturity stage, they invaded my farm and then they ate everything. These bastards, pardon my French, are not saying that I should be compensated. They are not saying that the farmer should be protected. But instead, they are emboldening the Fulani elder that because his cows have died, that the Fulani elder only should be compensated. So 18 cows, let's say at the rate of 1 million, that is 1 million naira, because these cows, they didn't stray into my farm, because if they had strayed, I'm sure the elder would have stopped the cows. But because the elder took them intentionally into my farmland to feed on my own corn that I've treated for over 2 months. As you all know that we are in the rainy season, and this is the period for corn harvesting. So the first harvest that I'm supposed to make in this month of May, a Fulani elder who feels entitled, who feels protected by the federal government, who thinks that grazing is a federal project, and who thinks of himself as a federal asset, walks into my farm, and all what his brothers have to say is they must be compensated. Another one is saying if there will not be a compensation, then there must definitely be a reprisal attack. And yet Tinubu is silent. Shetima is